data-driven platform group of companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra. This is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the street. With me is Shell Bhatnagar, and we'll also be joined by special guests to help us navigate through the last hour of trade. Well, it's panned out to be a volatile but day of trade, but the good part is that the Nifty has been able to hold on to the 21,800 mark, even though there's just about 16 odd points of gains coming in. The pressure is building up on the Nifty Bank with about 0.3% of losses, what you can see on that index. The Nifty IT has dragged also into the red zone, just about flattish with negative bias is what you can see here. But it's the autos that are driving well. When we see top stocks like Eicher Motors, Maruti, Suzuki at record levels, there is a substantial amount of move that you can spot on these. Apart from this, the oil and gas space is also looking brighter. So you have stocks like BPCL, ONGC. You also have stocks from the power space like Power Grids doing very well in trade. Some parts moving from the FMCG basket like Nestle and ITC as well, along with the heavyweight counters like Reliance Industries, lending in some support finally and preventing the loss of, preventing the slippage of our Nifty into the red zone right now. Shell, good part, 21,800 protected. What do you foresee for the Nifty?
Yes, actually, I think you've summarized the market pretty well. Let's move on to the guest. Aditya Agarwal, I believe, is with us.
Yes, absolutely, Shell. Aditya Agarwal is with us. He's the head of research and investment at invest4edu.com. Aditya, good afternoon to you. Tell us, what are you making of the market move? Again, we are seeing flattish trade on the Nifty. It's been a volatile day and it's been that kind of trade for the last few trading sessions as well. How would you see the market spanning from here on?
Good afternoon, Sakshi. Good afternoon, Shailendra. Thanks for having the show. Markets clearly, as you mentioned, are in a volatile phase, and I believe markets will remain so till the time the elections are over. You will have bouts of profit booking, then you'll have a short covering rally, and markets will be all over the place. It's important to handpick your stocks in the correction and start building a portfolio when the markets are correcting. That's very important. And if we take a look at the way the broader markets have been panning out, we've seen a decent correction in the broader markets, and that was calling. We've seen a massive outperformance in the mid cap and the small cap space. So this was something which was on the cards. We already have a decent correction in the broader markets. My sense is that there could be more downside here, especially in the broader markets. But you can start looking at some pockets which are strong and which have given you decent correction and now offer a good risk to reward ratio. Talking of Nifty per se, till the time 21,900, 21,950 is taken out decisively, Shakshi, which is your immediate hurdle for the markets. I don't see markets see a sharp rally on the upside. And even if 21,900, 950 is taken out, 22,200 is an immediate hurdle. Having said that, on the downside, we'll closely monitor for 21,800 about 21,700. That happened to be a key support area for the Nifty as well.
Okay. Any particular stocks that you're looking at which you may have added over the last few days of correction, or are you building up positions afresh now in?
Absolutely, Sakshi. So the first stock on my radar is an ITC. Stock has been an underperformer of late. I've seen a decent correction, and after the news of stake sale, stock did see a good run up, gap up open, and from there it has consolidated and cooled off. I believe it offers a good risk to reward at current levels. One should definitely look at adding the stock in your portfolio, even for trading bet. At current levels, look for a target of 435 on the upside with the stop loss at 403 on the downside. The second stock is Apollo Hospitals. Again, after a good rally on the upside, stock did see a decent correction, and now it's taken support at its key moving averages and trendline supports as well. At current levels, it offers a good risk to reward again with the stop loss at 6,000 on the downside. One can definitely look at going long on the stock for a target of 6,550 to about 6,600 on the upside.
Okay, got that. So that's the specific stock that you're looking at, Apollo Hospitals, and for a target of 6,600. We'll continue to watch out for this one. But it's the auto space that's catching all the attention today. How are you looking at the fresh moves that we are looking at on Eicher Motors? Of course, this comes on the back of UBS report, where UBS has upgraded the stock and given a fresh target price of 5,000 rupees. On the other hand, we also have the largest car maker of India, Maruti Suzuki, now driving in the top gear. 12,000 plus levels are being seen on this one. How would you approach these two particular set of stocks, one from the two-wheeler space and one from the four-wheeler space?
We'll talk of Maruti Suzuki first because we see a clear up move there. As a disclaimer, this is one stock which has been recommended to our clients as well. Much below, closer to about 11,500, 11,600 odd levels. Sakshi, I believe there is still upside left in the stock. Once it sustains about 12,000 odd levels, stock can easily test levels of 12,200 to about 300. And this could be one of the dark horses within the four-wheeler space where everybody was focusing on the likes of Tata Motors and Mahindra Mahindra. Maruti Suzuki can actually be the dark horse in the four-wheeler space, mind you. The chart structure is extremely bullish, and immediate targets that I look at, as I mentioned, 12,200 to 300 on the upside. Once that is taken out, stock can actually test 12,500 as well. So if you're looking to get onto the stock at current levels, maybe on declines closer to about 11,800, you can look to add the stock. And once it crosses 12,000, maybe then you can look to add further to your positions for a target of 12,300 or 12,500. And on the downside, 12,600, 11,600 is a good support. Talking of Eicher Motors, that too is looking very interesting on the chart setup. Definitely, yes. But on the upside, 39.50 is an immediate hurdle for the stock. Once that is taken out decisively, then I would be more comfortable going long and staying long in the stock for a higher target of at least 4,600 on the upside. Till the time 39.50 is taken out decisively on the stock, I would be more of a trader in the stock rather than just buy and hold the stock in my portfolio. At current levels, if you already have the stock, but place a stop loss closer to about 38, 38.20 on the downside and look for a target of 39.50 to about 4,000 on the upside. Once that is taken out, you can continue to hold on to your positions then.
Okay, those are the viewpoints coming in on both Maruti and Eicher Motors. Shell, you were watching out for Bajaj Finance as a stock right in the morning trade. It's a percent higher right now, 668 kind of levels can be seen on this one. Of course, this has been a heavyweight counter that has lent its support even today, and of course there are news flows as well. How do you see the stock now, and would you also want to add your 2 cents?
Sakshi, I think you've added the 2 cents. It's more or less doing fairly well in the markets. You can make out at the moment it's just a percent higher and about a 1.1% rise in open interest. What was worthwhile in the morning has already panned out. You can see from the high, which was at about 67.31. It's cooled down a bit to about 66, 67. So there we are. There was a trade in the morning, and that seems to have got itself exhausted.
Okay. Let's ask Ajay, if you can also, Aditya, add your views as far as the NBFC leaders are concerned at this point in time. Are you looking at them favorably? Is this a trade that you'd like to continue?
I would agree with Shailendra with the fact that the initial up move is done for the stock. I'm not too gung-ho on the stocks. Actually, I believe there is still more consolidation, which the stock will go through. 6,800 on the upside is a hurdle. 6,800, 6,850 on the upside. That is a hurdle, though that's still some distance away from current levels. But I would wait out for the stock to sustain above that levels of 6,700 decisively. Once it sustains above 6,700 decisively, that is when I'll go long aggressively on the stock for a target of 6,800, 6,850 with a stop loss closer to about 6,400 on the downside, or 6,500 would be a better stop on the downside. You would have to wait and watch Sakshi, the space NBFCs, because whole host of moves are happening here. One stock is going up while the other is going down. If one has to look at one space, one stock here, that is MFSL, should be on your radar. Stock has actually not corrected much. In fact, it's going through a sideways consolidation at the moment as we speak. Once it sustains above 980, 990 odd levels, Max Financial is something that will give you a good up move on the upside. So keep this stock in radar, can test levels of 1,070, 1,100 on the upside, and offers a good risk to reward ratio at current levels.
Okay, got that. The other space that's looking very interesting is the oil and gas space. Again, of course, we have on the one side the crude oil prices that are constantly inching higher. So the upstream companies do have that benefit. ONGC, Oil India, both in the winning trade today, and both up about 1.5–2% in trade. On the flip side, we've of course seen again the oil marketing companies come back in action, especially when we talk about stocks like BPCL. Here we have seen news flows. Of course, it signed a 4-month US oil purchase deal with BP. That's led to its support as well. We've recently also seen the petrol and diesel prices reduction in back home in the domestic markets. How would one play the entire oil and gas story now?
That's for me, Sakshi.
Yes, Aditya.
So you have to divide this space into three folds, I believe. One is obviously the OMCs, your IOC, BPCL, HPCL. I think the chunk of the move is over in these stocks. So the comfort zone which was there in IOC, BPCL, HPCL are not there at current levels. Yes, I'm not saying that they will correct immediately. I don't look at that also happening. Could be more of a consolidation that you'll see in all these stocks. And if I have to take a look at one stock from the entire pack, I think IOC is something which stands out for me. On the upside, stock can easily test levels of 180, 190, with the stop loss closer to about 150 on the downside. Now we have to move to the next side, which is your likes of ONGC, Reliance, and Oil India, which are the upstream companies. So I believe that is one space which can actually see some more upside, even from current levels. To talk of it, Reliance could be one stock to focus on, offers a good risk to reward at current levels. I see some more upside here. So if I have to focus between OMCs and these companies, I would rather stick to the names of Reliance Industries, and maybe an ONGC also stands out for me. So both these stocks can be looked at current levels, with ONGC target coming close to about 280 to 90, and Reliance could test levels of 3,000 on the upside.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Reliance Industries as well. What about the FMCG space? Are you looking at closely the FMCG stocks? We've seen ITC come back in flavor, 1.3% higher, 414 on that one. Nestle HUL, slight ticks coming in there. But is this a sustainable move at all?
Sakshi, it's a difficult call to take, honestly. Though I have recommended ITC, which looks interesting to me after the recent correction that we have seen. I would avoid getting into some names, and few names look decent to me. So it's not the entire overall FMCG pack that looks bullish to me. If I have to pick one or two stock, ITC definitely tops the chart structure for me, followed by Colgate-Palmolive is also looking interesting to me. After yesterday's pullback, I believe this is one stock to look at current levels. One can definitely look at adding positions in Colgate-Palmolive with a good support close to about 2,600, and I believe stock can test levels of 2,800 on the upside. Hindustan Unilever is something which is correcting big time, so I would not get into a stock like Hindustan Unilever, because I believe there is some more consolidation or maybe a correction also which is left in Hindustan Unilever. Britannia would be the third stock, but again I'll wait it out for Britannia, because after a good consolidation, stock yesterday just crashed, and today it's just holding on to its only ground closer to about 4,800 to about 4,770 on the downside. So the two bets that I will stick to are ITC and Colpal. If Britannia shows some kind of an up move above 4,900 levels, then maybe I'll add an Britannia to the list.
Okay. Let's also discuss some of the big movers at this point in time from the broader markets list. There are a slew of them that are actually doing well in this market. So something like a Chalet Hotels is up 6.3%. Then you also have a stock like Canterbell Retail that's up in trade. And then you also have stocks like Metro Brands. That's up in trade again. After a long haul, I'm looking at this stock about 10% higher. LT Foods is up in trade about 9% odd or so. These are the broader market moves that are coming in this kind of market. Time Technoplast, we discussed, there's a news flow, and we had discussed this right in the morning. That stock is up in trade again. Anything from this broader market space that you'd like to highlight and share with us your view on, Aditya?
If you're very specific, Sakshi, as you mentioned, few names
Yeah.
which are popping out. If I take a look at LT Foods, that is definitely which is standing out for me. Can be looked at current levels, can test levels of 210 to 20 on the upside with a good support at 170 on the downside. The second stock that I would like to highlight is over Realty. I'm not bullish on the entire real estate pack, but this one stock is something which is looking interesting to me. Over Realty at current levels. Maybe a stock can test levels of 1550, 1600 on the upside with a good support at 1350 on the downside. This is one stock which is actually showing good traction and good signs. So this is something that I would bet on apart from Time Techno, LT Foods.
Okay, fair enough. Shall I remember, you were also talking about Balrampur Chini some days back, and now Praj Industries is coming back in flavor. Looks like the holy mood is coming in, flavor again, and you're looking at some of these sweetener stocks coming back in action. Is this a space that one should be watching out for, Shell?
Well, actually, I think sugar is a very cyclical piece, and the fact that you have elections around the corner, there doesn't seem to be any hope that you'll see a price rise. In fact, the government is watching like a hawk when it comes to any commodity that might change the course of the election against them. So you've seen a cut in oil prices, which probably will also be extended a little later. And sugar is something that affects the entire spectrum of voting class, from the poorest of the poor to the richest of the rich. So I think this is just a dead cat bounce. Although Praj Industries has moved above its 200-day DMA, I think Aditya would be a better person to comment on it.
How do you look at Praj, and would you have to say about some levels that you may be tracking here?
I would concur with Shailendra here, Sakshi, because stock still has some more time to spend within this range of 520 on the upside, that is the hurdle, and 480, 470 on the downside. I don't see a runaway rally in the stock. Stock can enter into a consolidation phase. One interesting thing to notice in today's up move is it's backed by extremely healthy volumes. So definitely there are people who are lapping up the stock at current levels and on volumes. So we need to take a look at what is the kind of delivery percentage volumes at the end of the trading session, and then maybe we can take a call whether the stock will sustain beyond 520. For me, at the moment, 520 is a hurdle. If you already are long on the stock, look for a target of 520. If you're looking to go fresh long on the stock, unfortunately, stock doesn't give me a good risk to reward now after a 7% up move.
Doesn't give you a good risk to reward at this point in time after the substantial up move that we've already seen. Let's talk about a few more movers in the F&O space then. A lot of stocks are seen moving in this space. Indus Towers is the top mover, of course backed by news flow, 4.5% higher in trade. Then you also have RBL Bank that has been in an uptrend and now looks to move about 3% higher in trade. Manappuram Finance, that's the one that's moving 3.5% higher. Cummins India is moving up about 3% up in trade. Aurobindo Pharma, that's also moving higher by about 2.5%. Do you closely track any of these stocks, Aditya, or would you have a view?
I do track most of these stocks, Sakshi, and let's talk about Indus Tower first. That is one stock which is the strongest of the lot, and this is one stock which has actually not shown any signs of weakness despite the market mayhem that we've been witnessing for past few weeks. So at current levels, definitely this offers a good risk to reward because we had seen a correction as well after a good up move in the stock. So maybe with a support closer to about 235, 240, one can definitely look at adding on to the positions, and I'm sure if we take a look at the open interest data, there would be long build up in the stock as well. So for a target of 270, I believe this is one trade to definitely take. Second stock that was on your radar is Cummins India. That is also something which should be looked at. This entire space, look at the likes of Siemens, look at the likes of Cummins. They haven't corrected at all. That shows you the strength in these stocks. And the moment market turns a bit and shows any kind of recovery signs, these will be the ones which will go up the first. So Cummins India is something that can also be looked at definitely with a good support at 2650 on the downside. The moment it crosses 2800 odd levels, my sense is stock will test levels at 2900 on the upside. Aurobindo Pharma at the current point I will avoid because I don't see too much of an upside in the stock.
Acha, Oro Pharma you will avoid. What about Glenmark Pharma? That's also on the move in the future space?
So Glenmark Pharma is definitely which is looking interesting, Sakshi. And maybe if one has to pick a pharma space within from the future space, it has to be a Glenmark Pharma because I think there still is some juice left in the stock, and I would look for a target of at least 960 to about 1,000 on the upside, with a good support at 930, 920 on the downside. With the stop loss at 920 for a target of 1,000, pharma pick has to be Glenmark Pharma within the FNO space.
Okay, so that's as far as Glenmark is concerned. And Apollo Hospitals is something that you had mentioned. It's now moving higher, 1.2% higher in trade, 6185, and we'll continue to track that one since that's your pick as well. Let's talk about the PSU stocks now, Aditya, and you can probably help us understand. In the recent downtick that we've seen, some of the stocks even corrected 30-40% from their peak as well. Which are the stocks that you have actually built more positions on in this downturn, added more, and where would you be currently bullish on as well?
To be very selective now if you're talking about the PSU basket because the initial up move and the comfort level which was there in most of the PSU banks are not there anymore. If I have to pick a PSU bank, then it has to be an SBI because I'm done with the moves in PNB and Union banks and the likes of Canara Bank. Maybe a Canara Bank is something which will be second on my list, but the first has to be an SBI, State Bank of India. And after a decent fall that the stock has posted from 790 odd levels, it offers a good opportunity to start nibbling into the stock at current levels. I'm looking for a target of 800 plus on the bank if you stay put in the bank for at least a quarter or so. So that is the first pick for me. Talking of Canara Bank, that is also interesting, but again, I'll wait for some more correction in the stock. I believe there is room for at least 520 to 510 on the downside, and closer to about those levels, I would look to add the stock on my portfolio. This is as far as the PSU banks are concerned. If we talk about any of the railway stocks, that definitely had shown very sharp up moves, and now I believe it will be in for a good long consolidation phase. I would not be in a hurry to lap onto any of the railway stocks, especially maybe the likes of Railtel and RVNL and IRCTC. These are the three stocks that are on my radar. But again, all these three stocks, I'll wait for some more consolidation, maybe a time-wise correction in all these names, and then maybe look at adding these three names, the likes of IRCTC, RVNL, and Railtel.
Okay, RVNL and Volatile you will keep an eye out on, but not be in a hurry to get into the railway space as of now since it's already run up too much. What about the defense space? Are you looking at that space also closely? I mean, we did see some of the shipping stocks again buzz in the morning trade. Of course, the rally has fizzled out, but you know, fundamental experts on our channel are really bullish on the shipping space, especially stocks like Cochin Shipyard. Do you see technical moves as well that are supportive to the fundamental, commentary that we've been receiving?
There will be an up move for sure, no doubt about that. Stocks are in an uptrend if I just take a look at the structure of the stocks. But I still believe early days to get onto the stock because the initial phase of up move is over, which was followed by a sharp correction and then a equally sharp recovery as well in most of these stocks. At current levels, I would not look at getting onto the stocks. Again, I would wait and watch just like railway stocks. Give it some more time, look for time-wise correction. You can also have price correction here. Those will be good times to get into the stock, not at current levels. Maybe if you see a decent 5 to 6% or maybe more correction in these stocks, that will be a good time to start looking at these stocks again.
Okay. What about stocks like BHEL? That's up on the move again, 2.3% higher in trade, and it's been, of course, one of those stocks that has outperformed. If we look at the historical move on the charts, today it's up by 2.3%, 223 can be seen on this one. But if we look at BHEL shares from last 1 month and last 3 months and 6 months, let's pull up all those charts for all our viewers. Last 1 month it's dragged 3%, but last 6 months move will tell you the substantial rally of 80% odd that we have seen on this stock. Would you still buy this stock amid the consolidative move that we've been looking at now?
A very interesting part of the stock, Sakshi, is the fact that it has crossed its 2015 high, which was around 200 odd levels. So the real rally that you saw in the stock was post that breakout from that resistance of 200. Now on the way down, stock can test those breakout points of 200. That will be a very important level to watch out for in the event of any significant correction in the stock. If that follows through around 200 odd levels, I would look to add the stock in the portfolio definitely, because I think stock still has some more room left on the upside. Still early days, I would say, to add the stock in your portfolio. Start adding on dips closer to about 200. So every decline of 4-5% that you get on the stock, you can start adding on to the position. On the upside, I believe stock can test levels of 260 to about 270. So that's a big target that I'm looking at for the stock in terms of percentage. It will take some time, but yes, don't be in a rush to get onto the stock. Wait it out for a correction and then get onto the stock.
Okay, wait it out for a correction and then get on to this stock. Anything else, Shell, that you have spotted?
Well, Sakshi, for the moment, I think it's a flat market. 21,825 is where the Nifty is, just 8 points higher. And you have the Nifty 500 also flattening out. The two major indices are also, apart from the 500 and the 50, doing pretty much nothing. So it's going to be a flat day. That's about it.
Okay, let's look at some of the IT names now. Tech Mahindra, I could see, pulling up, even though the Nifty IT is still 0.25% lower in trade, but that's the one that's pulled up. Tech Mahindra is up by 1.2 odd percent, 1267 odd rupees is what I can see the stock at. Anything interesting in the IT basket for you, Aditya, if you could share with us?
One interesting basket, Sakshi, no doubt about that. And I'll tell you, if in the event of a decent correction in the market, this will be one hiding space for all the investors. Though it will have its own share of volatility, depend on the move that we see in the US markets, the IT indices and the IT stocks will behave accordingly. Like today, for example, you're witnessing a decent correction in most of the IT names ahead of the Fed meet, and this is on expected lines. But come tomorrow, if there is no negative surprise, I believe these will be the stocks to pop up first. So the names like Infosys, TCS, HCL Technologies, these will be the names to bet on. I will stick my neck out and stay with the large cap IT names because I believe a chunk of mid cap IT names had run up too much. They were trading at extreme overbought levels. There'll be a decent correction that you will see in the names like Coforge, Persistent Systems, Birlasoft, to name it, and there will be a time when these stocks will get into a corrective phase and a time consolidation. In the meantime, I believe Infosys, TCS, HCL Tech, these are the stocks to look at. It's time that they start outperforming now and they chip in. So IT space is definitely something interesting to look at, and all three names that I mentioned should be on the radar. Start adding them on declines. Like today, for example, is a good day of decline just ahead of the Fed meet. But it will come with its own share of volatility, as I mentioned. But this is one space which I believe will outperform going ahead, even post elections. I believe IT space will continue to outperform.
Okay, IT space will continue to outperform even beyond the elections. That's the word coming in. Good time to take a break, but right after the break, I'm going to be pulling up Zomato for the consideration of our guests. It's moved up to the high point of the day, 4.9% higher, 165.6. This is the stock that I've been closely watching right from morning. We will continue to discuss on this. Stay with us, viewers.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
Welcome back. You're watching Market Today on Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, and now I'm in conversation with Osho Krishan, the Senior Research Analyst, Technical and Derivatives Research at Angel One. Osho, very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for taking the time out. Well, before I go ahead and take your view on both the Nifty Bank, specific stock ideas that you may have, before the break, I promised the viewers that we will be discussing on Zomato, since that's the stock of the moment, about 4.9% high in trade, 165, 166 can be seen on this one. It's been constantly on the move. Last 5 days move will tell us it's moved 9% in trade, and in the last 6 months odd, of course, we all know the story of 60-65% surge coming in. Of course, there is a lot of news flow. The CEO of the company is talking about a lot of innovations taking place. Today there was news of vegetarian only fleet that they're going to be coming out with. Tell us technically, how do you see Zomato? Where do you see the next targets at? Is 165 also a good enough entry point for a fresh investor who's not had Zomato in their portfolio up until so far?
Very good afternoon, Sakshi. Thank you for having me at your show. Well, coming to the query on Zomato, yes, Zomato has been into a very strong spurt in the last 6 months, and we are even witnessing a strong rebound in this counter. There has been a bit of correction from the zone of 170, 175 towards 145, 150 odd levels, and again it has retracted from the same and has moved above the 21-day exponential moving average, which is a very positive development on the technical parameters. So from here onwards, on immediate basis, 170 is the resistance zone. So one should wait for that zone to get clear out in the near period. But overall, if I'll be talking about the technical structure, then technical structure for this counter is very positive because it has seen a very drastic breakout above the zone of 155. And from there onwards, it has been sustaining on the higher levels. So I'm expecting that from here onwards, from medium-term time frame, there can be still potential in this counter to surge beyond 175 or even 190 in the coming period. But as of now, one should wait for the main barrier of 170 to get breached on a decisive manner. Once it breaches the zone of 170, then from there onwards, we can see a journey of another 20 odd points in Zomato for short to medium term.
Okay, that's the view coming in on Zomato. Are you also tracking Paytm closely, Osho? And would you also have a view on that one? Even that stock has been in momentum over the last few trading sessions. Although when we talk about Zomato versus Paytm, there are more investors and analysts who are talking positively on Zomato versus Paytm. How would you assess Paytm at 419?
Overall, Paytm is not very lucrative from a technical point of view because it has been a lot of traction, a lot of circuit kind of a movement can be seen in this counter. So I'm not very much optimistic in Paytm as of now. But if I have to tell you about the technical front, then it is having a strong resistance around the zone of 430. So if there will be any strong surge above 430 odd levels, then there can be some kind of movement immediately towards 480, 490. But that should be for a short term or a trader's point of view. It's not very positive outlook, and one should stay away from such a speculative counter.
One should stay away from Paytm as of now, but definitely Zomato looks positive at this point in time. Okay, let's now come to your view on the top stock ideas that you would have to share with all our viewers. Any particular stocks you've identified?
The first counter is from the financial space. Bajaj Finserv, if I have to say, it is hovering around the 200-day SMA from the last 2 to 3 trading weeks, and it is looking very positive because if I have to say that from here onwards, if there will be any kind of positive development that can be seen, then it will be taken care by the financials and banking space. So I'm expecting that Bajaj Finserv should be having a very strong traction in the coming period. As of now, it is hovering around the zone of 1580, 1590 odd levels. So one should try to accumulate it at the current levels. From risk reward point of view, 1550 should be kept as the stop loss. And on the higher end, I am expecting a target of 1640 to 1660 on positional basis. The second counter, which I am having a bearish view, is McDowell, that is United Spirits. United Spirits is somewhere around the zone of 1100. And I'm expecting that the downward move in this counter should continue in the coming period. So keeping the view of bearish sentiments in the market, I am recommending McDowell to have a sell approach around the same levels of 1100, 1105, keeping a strict stop loss of 1130 for positional target of 1050.
Okay, got that. So those are the views coming in on McDowell's, that's United Spirits, and Bajaj Finserv that Osho has highlighted. Osho, of course, it's the auto space that's been hogging all the limelight in trade today, especially stocks like Eicher Motors and Maruti. What I want to understand from you is how are you placed on the auto ancillary stocks instead? We've been discussing about Maruti, Eicher Motors all through the day, but what about the auto ancillaries? There are many of them that are now trading at the day's high, and strong buzz can be seen across. So Samvardhan Motherson is now at a day's high. It's moving about 2% higher in trade. Munjal Showa has been in an uptrend, and that stock has also moved up sharply. Anything that strikes you from the auto ancillary pack that now can be looked at being added now?
See, from a technical point of view, the auto ancillary space is still facing some kind of resilience or hesitancy in the upward movement. As you have mentioned, that majority auto space has only taken care for the day. They have ignited the bullish sentiments for the day, but auto ancillaries are not having that much of positive sentiment associated to them at current times. So one should wait for some kind of further correction or a consolidation in major of the auto ancillary space, and once we see a kind of a reversal, then only it will be advisable to have a buying approach in those counters for a short to medium term time.
Okay, fair enough. And between the two-wheelers and the four-wheelers, where exactly would you be placing your bets?
See, as of now, majority of the spaces from the auto sector is looking very positive, but the four wheeler has seen a major breakout, specifically as the name you have already mentioned, Maruti. So Maruti for the first time has seen the zone of 12,000. So I'm even having a very bullish approach in this counter. From technical point of view, this counter have seen a kind of a flat pattern breakout. So the medium term time frame, I'm expecting a higher target of nearly 2,000 to 2,500 in the coming period. So 14,000 to 14,500 should be the target that one can expect in Maruti, followed by companies like Eicher Motor, which has also given a very positive movement. But for Eicher Motor, one should wait because it is hovering just above just below the sloping trend line. So once there will be a decisive up move or a follow-up day of buying in Eicher Motor, then one should definitely try to gauge momentum in those counters.
Okay. ठीक है. Let's also talk about some of the other buzzing sectors that we have not discussed. The realty space, let's discuss that one. That is also moving up in trade. About 0.6% of a move can be seen on the real estate stocks. So Prestige Estate especially is moving up very sharply. 4.9% move can be seen on this one. You have Oberoi Realty, you have Macro Tech Developers, Brigade, you have Swan Energy, DLF, all of them moving up in trade. Any particular stock that you track from this space, and anything that looks positive?
Yes, from reality space, Oberoi reality is looking very positive. It has seen a very strong traction from the past 4 to 5 trading sessions and is hovering near a very stiff resistance zone. So 1380 to 1400 has acted as a very stiff resistance for this counter in the recent period also. But looking at the recent development and the size of candlestick formation that it has formed in the last 3 trading sessions, I am expecting that from here onwards there can be a strong up move in this counter. Immediately on the higher front, I am expecting a target of nearly 1435, which is the lower end of the bearish gap on the daily time frame. So from here onwards, one can definitely try to gauge the momentum for a higher target of 1435 on immediate basis.
Okay, so that's the real estate counter that you like, Oberoi Realty, Phoenix Mills, those are the stocks that we've discussed. Apart from this, the FMCG move, how are you looking at that, Osho? And especially stocks like Colgate Palmolive that are buzzing in the futures space. Would you have a view to share here?
The overall FMCG space is not performing well because the major heavyweight, the HUL, ITC, these companies have been the major laggard in this sector. So I'm not very much optimistic in FMCG for now. But these kind of correction can be seen from an investor point of view, can be seen in a positive manner that one can start making investment in such companies over a period of time. But for example, Colpal, which you have mentioned, Colpal have seen a very stagnant movement in the last 2 to 3 months. It has been narrowing down the zone around the zone of 2500. But in the recent week, we have seen a kind of a breakout and again retesting of the neckline. So So there can be some kind of buying interest that can attract this counter, but I'm not very much optimistic in this counter for the timing because overall the sector does not look very lucrative. But yes, this being
Okay.
an outperformer from the sector, one can try to gauge the momentum. But on the higher end, 2750 should be the target where one should try to book their profits.
ठीक है. So that's as far as the FMCG movers are concerned. Amid the stocks from the Nifty Next 50 list, you also have stocks like ABB moving strongly, 2% higher. Then you have Adani stocks like Adani Green, Adani Ports moving higher as well. Some of those momentum stocks that are buzzing. Siemens is up in trade, 1.6% higher. Then you do have stocks like Godrej Consumer Products, that's moving up as well. Avenue Supermart, D-Mart that we had discussed even in our Holi special show, that is also buzzing in trade right now. Dabur, Marico from the FMCG basket are also pulling up in trade as of now. Okay, ICICI Prudential, that's up by 2%. This is an interesting space to discuss now. Osho, we've been seeing momentary, optics coming in on HDFC Life, on ICICI Prudential. Is this a space that interests you technically? Is there any move that one should be looking at?
See, definitely ICICI Prudentials is one of the picks which I have recommended at the early time of this month, near about first week of the March, because it has given a sloping trend line breakout. And currently it has even after testing the zone of 600, it is retesting the neckline, which is even coinciding with the 200-day SMA. So this will be acting as a very strong support zone. So from here onwards also, those who have missed the previous rally in the first week of the month, they should definitely try to gauge the momentum this time, because from here onwards, on the risk reward point of view, on the lower end, the lower is very limited. Around 540 should be acting as a very strong support zone, while on the higher end, 590 to 600 should be the first target in ICICI Prudentials. So one should definitely try to accumulate this counter from short-term point of view.
Okay. Let's look at any of the good stocks that we can find from the 52-week high list. CG Power, that's up. Of course, Maruti and Sapphire Foods are the others that are moving up. But CG Power is now 4.5% higher. 500 odd levels can be seen on this one. Do you track this stock, Osho? Of course, this stock started to move once we did see the government's approval coming through for the semiconductor plants, and of course this space was within it. How would you really look at CG Power? Is there a positive trade to continue trapping?
See, on closing basis, CG Power has given this kind of a move after a very long period. This is for the first time that CG Power will be having a closer above 470 odd level. So that will be a breakout on closing basis for this counter. So I am expecting that this should be acting as a very strong development from technical point of view. And from here onwards, there can be upward rally can be seen in this counter. So the range where I am expecting a decent move is approximately of 50 odd points. So 470 and 50, it should be near about 520 kind of a target that one can expect in CG Power for immediate basis. While on the downside, if any dip comes towards the zone of 470, that should be auguring very positive for this counter, and one should definitely accumulate it for a target of 520.
Okay, so that's as far as CG Power is concerned. Let's spot some other movers. SBI pulling up in trade, 2% higher now at about 736 odd. From the PSU banking basket, Osho, are you looking at SBI closely, and would you continue to buy this stock at these levels?
See, overall, SBI has given a double top breakdown in the recent period. So the zone was approximately 745 odd levels, which even coincide with the 20-day exponential moving average. So any surge towards the zone of 745, 748 levels should be auguring well for a seller's point of view. So I will be having a selling approach in SBI for the time being, for a target of nearly 710 to 720 once it reaches the zone near about 745 to 750 in the coming period.
Okay. Any other stocks to follow on in the PSU banking space that you're looking at closely?
See, overall, I am expecting that in the PSU banks, there can be a follow-up buying for another 1 to 2 trading session, but that should be auguring well for the bears in the market, and definitely one should try to gauge momentum on the downside. because major of the counters have given a breakdown from a very strong after a very strong rally. So I'm expecting that there can be a further correction that can be seen. But if I have to tell you about from a medium term perspective, then Union Bank is looking very positive to me. It is
Okay.
hovering around the zone of 145. And from a medium term point of view, I am expecting a target of nearly 175, 185 in the medium term horizon. But there can be some in between hiccups. There can be in between profit booking. So 135 should be acting as the support and 175 should be acting as the target.
Okay, so that's as far as Union Bank is concerned. Let's look at the broader markets now, Osho. Flattened out completely. So the mid cap 100 index is absolutely flat at 45,930. The small cap 100 index is absolutely flat at 14,592. How are you assessing the moves here? Of course, this has been the epicenter of pain for the markets in the last 1 week or 10 days odd. It did pull back somewhat, but again it continues to be volatile story, story of volatility even now. How would you really look at the mid and the small caps? Any particular stocks that have come onto your radar that you may be looking at favorably?
See, overall, I am expecting that there can be a further round of correction that can be seen in mid cap and small cap companies. Majority of the companies have taken a breather post a strong sell off in the recent period. So there can be a breather or consolidation for the coming tenure of, let's say, 1 to 2 trading sessions. But again, after that, we can see a resumption in the downward trend. So I'm not very much bullish as of now. And my view has changed from yesterday only. It's not that I was having a bearish approach in the market for a longer period of time, but I'm having a bearish view as of now, looking at the overall sentiment in the benchmark index. Because once the heavyweight have started falling downwards, then I expect that the pain is still intact in the market and there can be a further round of correction that can be witnessed in the coming period.
Okay. Again, let's look at some of the PSU basket movers apart from the energy basket that we have discussed, the oil and gas space as well. Power space is moving up, so you have Power Grid that's up in trade, NHPC that's up in trade as well, Coal India, NTPC, those are again back onto the radar. Any particular trade from the power space that you'd like to carry on?
See, again, from power space, majority of the companies like heavyweight companies like Power Grid, NTPC, these companies are hovering or they have just taken a breather from the downward trend. So I'm expecting that there can be 1 to 2 trading sessions of up move that can be seen. Specifically, if I have to tell you about the development in Power Grid, then I am expecting a very short-term target of nearly 272 for Power Grid. Once it reaches the zone of 272, 274, then from there onwards, one can even try to gauge momentum on the downside. So for recent or let's say immediate basis, one can gauge on these counters for a higher target of 272. But for a medium term time frame, one should wait for some decent corrections.
Okay. Good time as any to take any BTST, STBT calls. It's 3:17 right now. Osho, any particular trades that you'd like to highlight? Of course, we will discuss the Nifty Bank and the Nifty thereafter.
Yes, from the capital good, I am having a very bullish approach in Cummins India. Cummins India is just hovering near the zone of 2800, but on technical parameter, the two positive things that has been seen that it has reverted from the 21-day exponential moving average, plus the RSI has given a positive crossover. So 2800 being a resistance and the follow-up buying in the coming day can give a very strong thrust in this counter. So I'm expecting a very strong up move in the coming day or let's say tomorrow because it has sustained at the higher levels throughout the day, even if there has been strong blips in the benchmark index. So Cummins India, one can definitely buy for a BTST perspective. On the downside, 2710 should be kept as the stop loss. And on the higher end, I'm expecting 2880 followed by 2920 to should be the target for tomorrow.
Okay, so that's as far as Cummins India is concerned, a BTST candidate for tomorrow that you can keep an eye out on. You know, we were discussing power stocks and interestingly, Kalpataru Power, that's moved up very strongly, 7.2% higher in trade at 1079 kind of levels that can be seen on this one. How would you look at Kalpataru Power?
See, overall, this counter is into a very positive trajectory, hovering just above the 21-day exponential moving average. So overall, the trend remains very bullish. But such kind of movement in this counter has always triggered to some a breather in the coming session. So if there will be a follow-up session, then I can expect 1120, 1150 to get retested, and afterwards there can be some corrections or pull off that can happen. But this counter as of now is looking very positive. 1120 to 1150 is on cards for coming 1 to 2 trading sessions.
Okay, so that's as far as Kalpataru is concerned. So that's the stock that's on listed on BSE, and that's why apologies we are not able to show you that one. But a strong move on that one is what we have been able to spot. Apart from this, the hotels and the hospitality space is again back in action. We were discussing about QSR chains, food delivery space, Zomato for example, but even the hotel stocks, they are moving up, especially chalet hotels is something that's moving up pretty smartly in trade today. You also have Dutch GVK 1.2% higher. Indian hotels, let's look at that one. Let's also look at Lemon Tree hotels and see how are these really faring in trade. But meanwhile, if you can look at chalet hotels charts, Osho, and tell us what's next for this one, and should this move be tracked for next few days?
See, this hotel has given a very strong movement from the 100 exponential moving average. This was not in my watch list, but thanks to you that I have tracked this counter for the day. So this is looking very positive, has retracted on a very positive note from 100 exponential moving average and has pushed above all the exponential moving average on the daily time frame. So it is a very positive development. There has been a significant volume that can also be seen in this counter. So I'm expecting that from here onwards, there can be a decent up move. Immediate basis 820 to 825 should be the first resistance or the target for short term. But if it surpasses those zones, then we can expect a very strong after V-shape recovery above 825. I am expecting a very strong up move of approximately 60 odd points from here onwards. So 880, 900 should be the target once it breaches 825.
Okay. Right, so that's as far as the hotel space is concerned. We're just about 9 minutes to go from the day's close. The Nifty is hovering now again at 21,850. A very, very volatile trading session is what we have seen unfold in front of us. But of course, it's some of the stocks that have really driven from the front. The auto stocks have driven from the front. ITC, Reliance Industries, some of the banking names like Kotak Mahindra Bank has supported the market move in trade today. SBI has moved up in trade. So those are the stocks that have really taken in all the support for the markets for today. Private banks, financial services, the Nifty bank also seen slipping in trade. So that's where the support is lacking. You can also see the IT stocks and the consumer durables and even the metals now losing some bit of their shine. On the metals pack, Osho, this space was looking lucrative technically a few days ago, but it's looking very volatile as of now. Is it just momentary? How would you assess the move on the metal space today?
See, overall, this is just a volatility that can be seen because in the last two trading sessions, there has been a strong move in the metal counters. Specifically, JSPL is one of my favorite counters from metal space as of now because it has been maintaining the cycle of higher highs and has reverted from 50-day exponential moving average, which was also the previous swing low. So I'm expecting that the momentum will come into these counters over a period of time, but overall the structure still looks intact on the bullish front. There can be some kind of more blips in the coming period, but overall I'm expecting that in the coming period one can definitely accumulate these counters for a very strong returns in the short term period only.
Okay, fair enough. So that's as far as the view on the metals pack is also coming. Anything else that comes to your mind before we go ahead and talk about how to prepare for the Nifty and the Nifty Bank tomorrow? Any particular stocks that I may have missed asking you, Osho?
The majority, many of the counters from the auto space only is looking very positive. The next counter which is looking positive from the auto space is Bajaj Auto. It has seen a very good movement in the last two trading sessions. Today it has seen a kind of a profit booking or subdued movement that can be seen. But overall, the structure for this counter has been on a very robust sign. So I am expecting that yes, tomorrow if there will be any kind of correction towards the zone of 8600 or 8580, then that should be arguing very positive for the bulls, and any dip toward or further dips of 40 to 50 odd points should be seen as a buying opportunity for Bajaj Auto for tomorrow's trade.
Okay, so that's as far as Bajaj Auto for tomorrow's trade is concerned. Okay, let's discuss Osho. What is the strategy that you would recommend? Of course, we are looking at a slightly weaker close for the Nifty Bank on the weekly expiry. Tomorrow will be the Nifty expiry. How do you expect the markets to move tomorrow, both the Nifty and the Nifty Bank? What are the key levels you'll be watching out for? And what strategy would you recommend all the traders?
See, overall, as I have mentioned that for Nifty, there has been a very strong bearish development that has been seen in last trading session. For the first time in the 4 month, Nifty has closed below the 50-day exponential moving average. So that's why I'm expecting that there is a further correction is pending in this counter. So on the higher end, until Nifty surpasses the zone of 21,980 or 22,000 levels on the spot zone, then till that time one should use all the rallies for making short positions. On the downward movement, I am expecting 21,650 to be the positional target for Nifty. So any bounce, even in tomorrow's session, if there will be any bounce towards 21,980, that should be arguing well for the bears. But on the contrary, I am having a very bullish approach in Bank Nifty. For Bank Nifty, I am expecting that it is at a very strong support zone, and from here onwards, there will be very limited downside in Bank Nifty. So if there will be any correction towards the zone of 46,000 spot levels, then one should definitely try to accumulate or buy in this index for a higher target of 46,800 to 47,000 zone.
Okay, so that's as far as the Nifty and the Nifty Bank and the strategy for tomorrow is concerned. Well, last few minutes to go. Let's start wrapping up the markets and we'll take the last word from Osho thereafter. So the Nifty hovering about 0.1% higher in trade. 21,845 can be seen on that one. So for sure looks like 21,800 will be protected because it's just 3-4 minutes now remaining for the markets to shut shop. The portion of the market that saw profits being taken off. Remember, opening trade, we did see all the sectors pull up in trade, and there was a smart bounce in the trade. What has slipped? Mid caps have slipped, banks have slipped, IT has slipped in trade, consumer durables have slipped, financial services and metals. These are the pockets that have turned weak. But oil and gas, a very strong move comes in, 1.3% higher, top moving sectoral index in trade today. And within this pack, of course, names like Oil India, were shining pretty sharply in trade today. So about a 4% move came in on this one. You also had stocks like IOC, Mahanagar Gas, ONGC, BPCL, Gujarat State Petronet, Reliance Industries, GAIL, all of them, buzzing in action, and that's lent the support to this sector. Following this was realty space, although not many contributors in the top 5 or 10 movers on the Nifty from this basket, but we did see most of the sectoral names, especially in the mid-cap space, moving up very strongly, like Prestige Estates was the top mover among the realty space today. FMCG, of course, the limelight was there on ITC today. A strong move coming in on this one. It's ending near the day's high point. Nestle was back in action, 2.2% up. Colgate we discussed widely. United Spirits also we discussed. Topics of our guests too. United Breweries was back in action. So Godrej Consumer, Marico, Radico Khaitan, Dabur, these were the stocks that were seen buzz in trade as well. Would you say this is right ahead of Holi kind of a move that the FMCG counters may be enjoying, Osho?
See, there can be a lot of reasoning for FMCG not to perform as of now, but majorly I am observing that major of the large cap companies like HUL has seen a very drastic breakdown, so that has dampened the overall sentiment in the FMCG. So I am not that might be one of the reasons because of which overall the whole FMCG counter is not performing well for the time being. But again, as I have said, these things should be arguing well for the investors, because such kind of movement generally does not happen in the large cap. But if it happens, then one should definitely try to gauge on such counters for a longer duration of investment.
Okay, right. So there we go. 1 minute to go before the market shut shop. Many thanks, Osho. And thank you so much for sharing all those insights. We will keep an eye out on all the stocks that you've mentioned and the trading strategy that you've advised to all our viewers. Good to have you with us. Let's again wind down the markets for all our viewers. Top movers on the Nifty: Eicher Motors, it ends at day's high, 4.2% higher. Maruti Suzuki ends near its all-time high levels, 11,920, 930 can be seen on this one, 3% higher nearly. Nestle ends at day's high, 2.2% higher. Power Grid, State Bank of India, ONGC, BPCL, ITC, the top movers on the Nifty today. Which were the top drags? Let's also look at those. The top Nifty laggards at this point in trade today included Tata Group stocks. You know, Tata Steel was down, Tata Consumer Products, Tata Motors, all three of them down in trade, and anywhere to the tune of 1.5 to 2.5%. UPL, Hindalco, Cipla, HDFC Bank and Axis Bank also pulled down, therefore not lending that support to the index. Among the future movers, you had Eicher, Indus Towers, you also had Maruti, RBL Bank, BHEL, then you had Cummins, India, all of these top movers as far as the F&O action is concerned. But as we shut shop, it's 21,850 that's been protected on the Nifty index. Tomorrow is when the weekly expiry will happen. Will the volatility continue? And will there be escalated nervousness across the board globally right ahead of the big US Fed decision that comes tonight? And therefore, we will get to see how the markets will react to them tomorrow morning as well. Do stay tuned with us onto Business Today TV as action continues on your screens even beyond the stock market hours.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe from multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
स्टार्टअप लॉन्च तो बहुत लोग करते हैं, और पॉलिटिक्स में तो ज्यादा